Good evening, everyone. It's already 4:05, so we are going to start our section. My name is Amarachi Wanko, and I'm going to be your moderator for this section on unleashing the power of data analytics and visualization in Excel. Our ground rule still remains punctuality. Please always come on time for the class so we can kick off and give you guys what we have in store for you. Have an open mind to learning. Don't just stay in your comfort zone. Ask questions if you feel you are not clear on anything. One class, always participate. Submit your assignment. The assignment that was given yesterday, not a lot of you have not submitted. So respect yourself, no insult. Ask questions. If you feel that something is not clear, ask and someone will answer you. Then raise up your hand if you want to ask any question, and I will mute your mic for you to speak. Amarachi Wankwa, as I said earlier, I work as a data analyst at Keja Electric. I was a participant for the Analytical Power Workshop program that was last year, and I've taken different online courses on data analysis to boost my knowledge and skills in data analysis. Our speaker for today is Victor Ogodele. He has a Big Four experience with more than 7 years in valuation, corporate finance, business and transaction modeling, financial analysis, data analytics, and corporate trainer. He currently works with EY London, UK in business modeling unit. He has worked with Deloitte Nigeria in the valuation and modeling unit. He has worked on more than 200 portfolio of financial modeling, business valuation, and data analytics engagement, and trained more than 5,000 personnel. He is an advanced financial modeler and a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. He is a financial modeling trainer of the year 2022 by Financial Modeling Global Summit Award. He was a top 6 financial modeler in Africa by Financial Modeling World Cup in 2021. He was selected as the top Microsoft Excel user in 2021 competition by Financial Modeling World Cup, and he is a convener of Time Out with Victor on free financial modeling bootcamp program. Please let's clap for Victor as he comes to speak to us today. Victor, over to you. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, Victor.
Hi, guys, and good evening to every one of us. Thank you for that, our wonderful moderator. Thank for that brief introduction. Yes, yes,
So you
yes,
are
yes. Thank you.
muted. We can't hear you.
Uh, I'm not sure. Can you hear me? My mic is open. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the confirmation, guys. Thank you, and we're glad to have every one of us in our session today. We are a little bit behind the schedule, considering we have just an hour to get into what we need to do. So once again, I say a very big welcome to you. And if you are in this session, and I mean in this program, trust me, you are really on the right track. Data analytics skills, one of the best skill you can have in our global world now at this. You're right. Okay, someone is okay. My name is Ogundele Victor, not Alados Victor. Okay, all right, so let's get straight into it. Data analytics and visualization in Excel. Now, the truth is, one hour can never be enough for us to even cover anything. But we just try to more like this. This would be an interactive session then you have your own task to do. And the best way for you to get better is when you are able to sit down and to do things on your own. There's really no magic to it because it is practical. It is what we do in the business world. So, which means for you to get better, uh, you also have that responsibility. You hold yourself with that as well. So, data analytic and visualization in Excel. So, maybe I will just switch off my video so that I can concentrate on my presentation slide. Okay. So, data analytics and visualization in Excel is all about insights that can drive decision making. And one thing I usually tell guys that are coming into the industry is this. See, there will always be so many people that can do the same thing you can do. But you know what? There will always be just few things that will make you stand out, right? Yes, I specialize in financial modeling and business valuation. But you know what? The fact that I have data analytics and visualization skill, even I had few certification when it comes to business communication standard, always give that edge. Okay. And see, there's one live after school, then there's the other one live after service. It can be so interesting. Let me put it that way. The luck you are having in getting into this kind of program was, yes, during our own days there was no program like this, but I had that opportunity. Someone giving me it, hey guy, do this for me. My first use of Excel was I went, we had a break then, went to my uncle's place. Then his son was doing like internship somewhere. They will give him tasks to do in Excel, do some data cleaning and do things. By the time he gets back home, he'll be tired. And I've been sitting in the house since morning. He just pick me up. Hey, Victor, yeah, do this for me. I say, okay, I don't know how to do this. Just, okay, you do this. And before you know it, it's all added up. So now, as I said, it's all about insights that drive decision making. See, so many visualization, too many data analysts. But you know what? There's always be something that will make you stand out. And see, as I said, it's all about business. Any report you are creating for yourself is actually not a report. So, which means anytime you are dealing with data, the word itself is a data. It's all about how do we add 1 plus 1 to give us 2, which means it becomes a model because there will always be one input, then rough work, and the output. Now, the output must be able to give something. So if you see a presentation, a visualization, revenue is 20 billion, the revenue is profit is 30 billion. Please, what is he saying? There's really no message. So and someone will tell you that yes, anyone can do this. In fact, interestingly, AI can even do that now. Just put your data in Excel and the AI will give you all the visualization. But the additional thing that you add to it is what will make you stand out. So before we get started, I hope we've shared these documents with everyone. Our moderator, please help us confirm.
Yes, I've shared it with them.
Okay, all right. So please, let's go ahead and let's open that document. Let's open that document. Let me look for my own as well. So let's open the Excel document. That's what we'll be using. So I quite understand because of our limited time, I might not be able to, maybe the way I'm doing it, you also want to be doing it. So maybe you can pay more attention to my own screen. Try to understand what I'm not going to do any magic. Okay. Then if you have any question, you can always ask. Then after the session, you will need to do what you will practice on your own. Because someone saying it's not working my Excel. Or what is not working? It's just for you to have the file and just open the document. So you can open it and you can also come back to my own screen and take a look at what we have. So now, assume I'm a data analyst and I just got this data. The file is not working on my Excel. Okay, maybe you can sort that out later because this is Excel. So you have a raw data, then you have your data workbook. Okay, so we'll come back to that. Just leave this file open. Now, before we get started, anytime you are faced with a case like this where you have a data, because I said, number one is all about data. Is all about data. Whenever you see any raw data, I'm quite sure we've in the previous session we've discussed 7 golden rules of data. So I don't need to. We don't need to go back there. So I have a data here like this, raw data. No information, nothing. And as an analyst, what are the things you first need to look out for when dealing with data? First thing is, one, you need to understand business. So I always tell people that I consider two approaches when it comes to you doing anything, especially in the data world. Now, we have the artistical aspect of it and we have the mechanical aspect of it. Right. So I'm sure you also have another assignment to do more of the artistical parts. So let's focus on more on the mechanical side. So the artistical part is go into Excel or any of your data tool, right? Do your data cleaning, do your visualization, and you are good. And the other one is when you are using the data to bring out information. And now, for you to be able to use something to create insights, one is you must first understand the business and understand the data. If you don't understand the business, there's no way you can make sense out of the data. It's not magic. There's no magic to it. Now, let's go back to this data. You can look at it from my own screen. If you want to also look at it on your own screen, that's fine. Let's look at this data. As I said, the first thing is understand the business. If you understand the business, you will understand the data. Now, let's just scan through this data. So we have different header, column header. So date, segment, state, region, product, discount band, unit sold, manufacturing cost, sales price. Now, can anyone tell us what do you think the data that we have? Can you think about the business? Can this data tell us the kind of business this is? So you can type in the chat box. Yeah, that will, so that we'll be able to save time. Let's just start. Let's type in the chat box. Looking at this data, what business do you think this is? Okay, I love that. Energy, oil business, car, petroleum. I love you guys. Exactly. So which means if you take a look at the product, they are selling more like all this automobile oil, right? Automobile oil, right? Lubricants. Just different names, right? So I think, okay, more of an oil or lubrication business. Perfect. Exactly. So which means that has given us the number one insight. Understand the business, understand the what? The data. So basically, if I look at this, it's easy for me to say, okay, okay, so this is what they are doing, and likely this should be, and I'm seeing something like units sold, right? Manufacturing cost, sales price. Basically, the data of the operation maybe over a particular period, right? So which means we understand the business, and with that we can relate it to the data. With that understanding, it is also now easy for us to be able to add to the data. Most times, you can have a limited data, and your insight might be you adding more like an outside data, because it's all about decision making. Now, the next thing is insights. When you understand the business, you understand the data, the next thing is what? Insights. And these are the questions you now need to ask from the data. One, what has happened? Because definitely you are sure it's more like an historical data or more like, let me say, actual data. Sometimes you can also have the forecast data. Why did it happen? What has happened? Why did it happen? What can be done? See, management, they are really not interested in looking at a report and they are seeing 20 charts, lovely colors. No, that's not what they want. They really they don't have that time. So those questions must be answered immediately. I look at the visualization, right? Then there must be something that must follow it. I can't just say revenue for the period is 20 billion. It has not communicated anything, right? They have accountants. Accountant has also prepared that for them to let them know that, hey, this is our total revenue for the period. So why are you repeating it again? So what has happened? Oh, looking at the data, right? Let me say I just want to look at the data based on states. Oh, over this so period, this state has contributed more to the business revenue or has contributed to the total units sold. Now, the next question is, oh, if let's assume Abuja has contributed, they add more sales in Abuja. The next thing is, why are we selling more in Abuja as compared to other states? If the data cannot ask that question, those are the insights you need to bring out for the management to deliberate on. So it means you can have your beautiful chart, and if it's not communicating anything, then that is not, you are not analyzing anything. You are not bringing out any insights. Then the right choice of visual to now convey the proper message. The what? The right choice of visual to convey the message. So after you've asked those questions, one, because even taking a look at the data, you can start drawing out different map. Okay? And then you now need to now ask yourself, are you creating a summary? Are you creating a report? Or are you creating a dashboard? Right? Are you creating a summary? If you are creating a summary, yes, you can have everything split out. If you are creating a report, you need to be able to add insight to it. If you are creating a dashboard, you definitely know that all they need is one page that will speak to the summarized report. So as an analyst, right, visualization is good. Learning it is fine, but that's the artistical part. The world is really moving faster. They are moving away from it. And the next thing is they are moving to the mechanical guys that can bring out insights from the data. And we're going to do one demo. Right, so let's get started. So as I said, you have access to the recording. You can also take your own time to take a look at it. Now, number one rule, most times when we get those data from maybe the business system, I'm sure you guys will cover Power Query, do the cleaning and do your thing. Number one rule is never tamper with client data. You see, the same way they've given you, leave it like that. Leave it like that. Now, recreate your own. So what I'm going to do is, this is my data. This is my data workbook, right? I'm going to duplicate it. Okay, so a minute. Let me look at my zoom it so that I'll be able to zoom out for us very well. Okay. All right, good. So this is my data workbook. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it in case you know how to use the shortcut. That would be a good one. And you can also use your just right click and you see this option to move or copy. But let me use my shortcut, my control left click on my mouse, right? Then move this is going to change to a cross, and I can press my Alt so that this duplicates automatically. Then I will rename this maybe data. So maybe data 2. Can call it data 2 underscore 2. Okay. So now on this version, we can now do what we need to do. So one, we have our date. And most times when I get a data like this, the first thing I like to do is to first filter, use what we call filter function, so that I know things that we have under each data. Okay, so if you come to your home tab, and also I'll show you the shortcut too. If you come under your view, under your data, you will see this guy called filter, right? And the other way, just to work fast, that way saying you cannot see my screen. I hope it's only coming from your own end. Then I'll press my control. So any of the header, Control Shift L, so that you have this. This is what we call. This is what we call this is what we call filter. So you always see this icon. If I press on, while I'm still clicking on it, if I press Control L, it will disappear. Control Shift L again, it will show. So which means from here I can just do more like a data preview. So I know that under my dates, oh, good, they've only given me the only a 12-month data. So 2014 from January to what? January to December. Good. Right? Understanding the data. The segments, how many segments? They sell to channel partners, enterprise, mid-market, open market, small business. Very good. Go to the states. How many states? So definitely this is Nigeria. So Abuja, Benin, Delta, Ibadan, Kano, Lagos, Ogun, and Port Harcourt. Fine. Then I go to the region to also see the region. Oh, categorize it central, east, south, and west. Okay. Then I go to the products. How many products? So what I'm just doing is data preview, right? And understanding the data. So these are the products that they have. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. So I think they also give them discount. So discount based on to high, low, medium, then none. Also understand that. Okay. So unit sold. This is the unit the sold. This is the manufacturing cost. So you can also see manufacturing cost based on the number of product and also the sales price. Okay. All right. So which means I have understanding of the data. That's the first thing. Now, I now need to take a look at what are some interesting data that I can add to it. All right. For example, we have the unit sold, then we have our sales price. So which means for us to get our revenue, what do you think we need to do? So that means we can actually get our revenue from this data. What do we need to do? So basically I'm saying, hey, if you have a product that you're selling at this amount, and I'm telling you that, oh, this is the total unit that you sold this period. If I want to get my revenue, what do I need to do? I will multiply, right? So which means I need to multiply the unit sold by the what? By the sales price. Okay, so here I can create another column by the side. I'll create another column by the side and I'll call this revenue, right? And basically I'll do equal to my unit sold multiplied by my sales price. Okay, now look at this. Efficiency is also part of it when you're dealing with data. If I do this, that means maybe you did that in the session yesterday. I'll need to double click and copy that. Well, maybe I'm also wasting time doing that. So the first thing I will need to do, so let me delete this. The first thing I'll need to do is to combine this into table. So there's something we call rule of table. And anytime you are dealing with data in Excel, we always encourage that, and you have a data set, we always encourage that you convert it into a table range. So table has a lot of benefits. So sorry, we might not be able to cover that in our session today. We need to first convert it into a table. One is it's kind of help us to automate the data sets and see the data as one. And also it makes it easy for us to update and add additional data into it. So what I would need to do is, as long as the data set is following our 7 golden rule, right? I can click within any of the data sets. So if you go to your insert, you will see this guy called table. And if you hover your mouse on it, you will see the shortcuts. So within the table range, within the data sets, I'll press my Control T, and it's going to ask me where is the data for your table, and also confirming that yes, the data set has header. And I'll click on my OK, and look at what will happen. Automatically, it's going to change the color sets. Now let me undo this. Before we converted it into a table, look at my Excel tab. So I have my home, insert, page layouts, formulas, data review, help. This is the last tab that I have, right? Now, going back, converted this into table, go to my inserts, I click on my table. It's going to ask me where is the data for your table. So as long as your data follow the 7 golden rules, it automatically aligns the old data set. Okay, most I always encourage, make sure you scroll down so it will highlight it for you. Scroll down and be sure that everything is captured. There's no break, there's no empty row, empty column, and stuff like that. And I'll click on my OK. Now look at it. Immediately I click on my OK and I converted it into a table. Look at what happened. Remember, my last tab was help. Now it has come with its own special tab. In case you want to change the color of your table design, you can always do that under this particular tab. Now if I click outside the table, look at what happened. It's going to return this back to my help, my last tab. But if I click back inside the table range, it's just telling me that hey, this is now a table data set. Okay, and one thing about this is when you create your formula from a table data set, it automatically updates. Now, let's go back to what we wanted to do initially. So let's say we want to have our total revenue, or our total sales. So if I click on total sales by the side, what will happen is the table will automatically capture it. So anything you type by the side below, the table automatically capture it as part of the data set. And here I can type equal to. Now, your formula will now be using the table header name. So if you look at this, you see that it's telling me that at unit sold, which is the what? Which is the table header name, as against saying this should be row G2, right? Now multiply by my sales price. So it's going to be used. So instead of you saying sell H20 multiplied by sell, no, you will be using the header name because it's saying the data as what? As one. So if I press enter, look at what will happen. It will automatically fill it down for me to cover the data length. So let's also have our total, our total cost. So this is total cost. I also do the same thing. So equal to my unit multiply by what? Multiply by my manufacturing cost, and I'll press enter. And here by the side we can have our what? We can have the profits, which will be my total sales minus my what? My total cost. And that's one good thing about you converting your data into a table. So let me format it, just add a comma and remove the 2 decimal points. So because we know that this is data from Nigeria, definitely the currency is in what? Is in Naira. So always make sure you confirm, the currency of your data sets. Okay, so which means any other insight you want, you can always add it, right? But because of our time, let's assume we are good with this data set. Now let me create another session So how did we get the total cost? So yes, so the total cost is our manufacturing cost multiplied by the unit sold. Yes, so for revenue, the total sales was the selling price multiplied by the total unit sold, right? So cost is just how much you've spent in making sure you have the products ready. So which is the manufacturing cost. And your profit is just your total sales minus your total cost. Now, let's now get inside. So you see this guy that I colored that has this black color, raw data. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to duplicate it. Let me duplicate it. Right. And this section, I'll call it my workings. So anytime you are dealing with data, you must always make sure you have those three sections. Your raw data source, one, data from clients as it is. The second one is now your own clean up data and structure, right? Including any additional data for your insights. Okay. Then you now have the second section, which will be more like your workings. So let me create another worksheet. And so this will be more like our rough work, right? So maybe workings, or I know people have different name they call it, but for the sake of our own, can still call it our workings. Okay, and then the third section will now be our what? Will now be our report. So under report, you can have under report section, you can have your summary, your dashboard, anything you want. So this one we just call it maybe output for now. So you can have as many reports as you want. Okay. So now that we have this, well, for us to now start putting different formulas together, doing this, getting all those insights can be very, very stressful. But you know what? Excel has actually made that very easy for us with the introduction of what we call pivot table. Now, for pivot table, you don't need to write any formula. The rule is make sure your data is well structured following the 7 golden rule. Make sure that you've converted your data set into a table range. And all you just need to do is insert a pivot into it. And all you need to do is to be doing drag and drop. And let's see how we do that. So here I have my data set. So I'll come to my insert under my insert tab, and you see this guy called pivot table. Okay. So once I click on it, it's going to ask me pivot table from table or a range. So data table now, which we also we left this. Otherwise, asking what's the 7 golden rules. I still remember I watched the first video session that Adewale did for you guys. Yes, he covered it there. Okay, so first thing is always good to rename your table. So click inside the table range, go to my table design tab, right? And you see here called table name. So I'm just going to name this my raw, so raw data, maybe raw data set, or raw data set. Write it together. So which means that's the name of. So this whole data set that we've converted in the table is now what? Is now represented as more like a single data. Okay, so if I go back to my insert, and I click on my pivot table, let's look at what automatically is going to bring out the name that I've given to my table. If you want to create it in a new worksheet, fine. If you want to create it in an existing one, fine. So which one should we do? So let's create it in a new worksheet. So immediately I create that. So maybe let me move it here. I can delete the initial workings that I created and now rename this to the main workings. Okay. So immediately you create that pivot table, it will create something like this for you. So you can see pivot table. And here is just like drag and drop. Now look what it's telling me. Click in this area to work with the pivot table report. Now, if I click outside the cell, outside this shape, there's nothing happening. If I click within this data range, okay, look at what will happen. If I click within this data range, it's going to come with bring his own tab, pivot table analyze, design, by the right. you will see this, all our headers, they will also appear here. Okay, and in pivot table, right, all the headers of your data, which we have here. So if you come here, you see that we have date, segment, state, region, product, discount, right? The same thing you will also have immediately you insert that pivot table. And below it, at times you can have it by the side, depends on the design. You'll see filter. So here you have your filter option. Data you want to put in your columns, data you want to put in your rows. So most time your column and your rows, most times are always text. Okay, then you have your values, which are something that can be used, can be calculated. All right, so let's assume the first thing we want to do is we want to create our sales on monthly basis, right? Our sales, the units sold on monthly basis. To do that, as I said, so if you go back to the data, basically what we are saying is, hey, we want to know the total unit that was so which means we need this column header, unit sold column, right? Unit sold, and also we need the date. So basically, we want to know, hey, in January, how many units was sold? In February, how many? That's what we need to do, right? You know, if I want to go with the Excel formula, doing the sum, I might waste time doing that. But with pivot table, I don't need to do that. You know what I need to do? I'll come to this my pivot table where I have those headers. I know what I'm going to do. My date, I will drag it down under my row. Okay, I'll drag it down under my row, and immediately I do that, look at what I have here. That's giving me the list of the month. Now it's showing me this plus icon, so which means more like giving me the number of days, depends on the granularity of, so maybe you have uh, different days, or you want it even by week. That's what this is saying. But because I only need it by month, you know what I'm going to do? So I will remove these dates, just pull it out from there, remove the days, and I will have my month. So if I come back here, you see I've just have my normal January to December. And I said we need the what? The unit sold. So all I need to do is come to my unit sold. So unit sold is a value, something that can be uh, added together, and I will drag it and put it under my values. And let's look at what we have here. So which means the total units sold on monthly by month. This is it. So I can format this. So if I right click and click on my format cells, sorry, number format. So if I click on number format, right, I can come to my custom and maybe just select one of these first syntax, right? I just want to show it in thousand. So I'll come to the end of this my zero and put comma, right? So management does not, they don't have interest in seeing long number. They just want to be able to read it once and click on my OK. So just kind of look like this, right? So most times you can add like a note to it so that you remember next time what you've done, right? That the values are in thousand, that maybe you formatted it. So maybe I can come here and type total units sold on monthly basis, right? Then maybe units in thousand. So you can add this so that you remember the next time you are dealing, you open the Excel file, because most times when you are dealing with the data that you remember. So now let's now put this in a chart. Let's put this in a chart. So I'll call this month, right? So now one rule is you cannot use any name that you already have as part of the header. So even if you want to use the same name, you can put like a space after it. Then I'll call this units. So units sold, and I'll just add a space, right? Because you cannot have the same name that you use in your data header. So with this now, I can highlight my month down to December and go to my, so pivot table also has something like a recommended chart, right? But I think you can just go to your insert. So go to your insert and select recommended chart. So for this, considering we have it month on month, all right, I know some people would prefer to use line, but I prefer column. I prefer column chart. So I'll click on my OK. So when I click on my okay, this is what I'm going to get. Now you have see all this filter, all this noise around it, and because you are creating the chart from a pivot table. So uh, under my chart option, it also come with its own tab. You see, pivot, chart analyze. I don't need this button, so I can remove this button. So I need to clean up the chart. Okay, so let me cut it. Let me cut it and bring it to my output and just paste it here. So let me do my design and or my my design here. So one, I don't need this total. I'm going to delete it. Click on it and delete. So this header can come. Let me bring it to the side. Uh, I don't need this line. In fact, I can remove my. So once you click on the chart, once you are on the chart, you always see this. So because we are creating the chart from a pivot table, you see this pivot chart analyze. It comes with its own tab. You see this design. And you see this format. So this format, I'll come. I don't need any fill. So no fill, and then no outline. I don't need that. Okay. So this borderline, I can just click within this borderline and delete it. I don't need it. This column number, I don't need it as well. Okay. So click on it. Now on the chart, you see more like a plus sign. I can click on the drop down option to just get the data label. So we have the data label on it. Okay. So I think it's looking more like it. And maybe I can reduce the font size. And here, let me create my chart header. Let me create my chart header. So I can call this my total unit sold. Okay. Then just press enter and type values in, then maybe a comma, then in 1,000 units, and I can align that to the left. Yeah, sorry guys, I know I'm fast. I'm just trying to make sure we have something you can practice within this 1 hour. I'm sure we still have another activity that you also need to complete using this. Okay, so we have this, but now looking at this, yes, you can see that we are getting some interesting story from here, right? Looks like June, and October and December kind of had this huge sales. The next question as an analyst, because you need to add the insight, is what happened within this period. In fact, let's even make it more interesting. So if I come back to this, my workings, right? Click inside my pivot table. I'm going to add another month. This another unit sold, right? Because I need it to create another more like a line. So I will drag it and just put it below what I had initially. Can even just highlight this, use my format painter option, just is in 1,000 here. So immediately I do that, look at what happened. It's going to add that as the second chart, right? So it's not as if I need these two charts. I just need that other chart to create more like a movement. So in such a way that you have like a line graph and your column chart. So I'll click on the second one. On the second one, I said, you click, it kind of comes with its own. So I'll go to your format. If I click, so this is my format tab. You see shape fill, shape outline. Then you see this guy pointing down. So I'll click on the option and it's going to open a tab for me where I can also do some things that I want to do. That's one. The other one is if I right click, right, I have option to change the chart type. So I want to combine, like make it look like a two chart. So I'll click on change chart type. And under this, I have my combo. So I prefer to come under the combo and I need this something that I need. I need something like this and I'll click on my OK. So which means this kind of give us the move, right? So that they kind of see that chart, but I need to clean this up to also look good. So I'll click on the line chart, click on the line chart, the plus icon. I don't need my data label, so I can remove that. This, I will come to my format data series. Yeah, sorry guys, I know it's kind of a rush thing. It's also part of the learning. Trust me, you need to sit down with it. So let me reduce my line with, okay. Yeah, so that you can check the recorded video. So I think the line should be something like, I think I'll prefer something ash color, right? So you can reduce the width, then more like a dotted line thing. then it should look like this. Okay, so let me also make the let me smoothen the line so that it kind of look like this. Okay, so now with this one, from the chart, it's easy for management to look at the charts, right, and kind of pick what is happening in the business. But let me see, let's also add some other things to it. For example, what is the percent growth periodically? I think that would be a good one. Then maybe we can also have like the total sales by states, right? But first, let's add the month on month growth. So maybe we want to do the month on month growth. Don't worry, you don't need to do the formula. The pivot table can also help you to do that. So what I would do is, you can always copy if you use a pivot table, you can always copy it again and reuse it. So I'll copy and paste it here, and I can change the data. Remember, this data set, the first pivot we use was meant for one report. All right. So maybe I also always like using the header. So then I will call this one unit sold month on month growth. Okay. So here, if I click within it, it's going to, I'll go back to my pivot feed. I can remove I only need one unit sold. So with this, I can right click, right? I said you really don't need to do anything. So pivot table already has all those inbuilt calculation. I can say show value as, right? So different from, so let me use this difference from, and by the time I click on difference from, it's going to ask me what is my base field, which is month, and my base month is also, I'll just select previous month and look at what will happen. I'll click on OK. So basically what this is saying is showing me the percent growth. So which means this 55 from 65 to 55 basically is telling us that the units sold decreased by what? 18.75, right? As compared to previous month. March compared to May, also another drop. So I can highlight this down to December and also insert. Now I think this time recommended chart, let me use my line charts. Now click on my OK. So I can copy it, I can cut it, then bring it below this our chart here. Right? We are still going to add the insights to this. So let me remove all the noise. So remove the field button. This column unit, I don't need it. This line, I don't need it. The total legend, I also don't need it. So I can go to my format and remove my outline and also remove my field shape. So there are times where maybe you want to use a color, but this table is not a, okay. Maybe Musa, don't worry, you just go through the recording again. Yeah, apologies guys, just 1 hour really cannot go that we could not be, we can't do much, right? Yeah, sorry, I'm just have to rush things, but you can always watch the recording, which is the good thing. Okay, so this is the monthly growth, and I can put my data label. This my January, so because of the negative that kind of fall below 0%, I'll click on the month and come to this my format axis under my shape, and I can bring my label under the label. I can bring down, so next to axis by default, and I will change that to low. And this just kind of look like this. So I can reduce the font. Okay, I think we are good. So let me change the data title. So let me call this unit sold, um, right? Month on month growth. And I can put values in percent. Value in percent. Right. So it looks like we're having a proper report. So I always like to make sure I keep my my chart the same size. So if I click on my chart and I go to my formats, you see this height and width. So maybe I'll make this 3, maybe 3 to 5. How does that look? Okay, that does not look. Oh, sorry. That should be 3 to 5. Let me undo that. So 3, 3 by the height, then 5. Okay, so it looks like this. Can even reduce it a little bit. So the same one. So 3 to 5. Okay, and I can reduce it a little bit. Now, let's now add few insights into this, because now it's quite obvious that, okay, you know what, this is what is happening within this period, right? December, sales increased significantly. If you look at October, sales also increased significantly, and then in June, sales also increased significantly. So what is driving it, right? And that's where your own insight usually comes into play. So my own things that I really love doing, for example, I have these two charts laid out. You know what? I can now insert like my shape and insert like a text. So maybe I can put that up, or anywhere you want to put it. Most I usually prefer to put it up, but let me do it by the side, and let's now do some insights. One, looking at the data, because this is what management really want to see. Now, if taking a look at the charts, then the next thing is, what's message, what's the insight there, right? So for example, if you are saying, oh, what is the average? Let's look at if you come to your workings and I look at the average of the monthly growth, I think that's around 14.62. So if I come here and I say, and I type average, right? Average units sold, right? The average units are sold monthly, or let's call it monthly average units of 14, so 14.62%, right? Now this is half, so this is more like half analysis. Yes, we know that monthly average units sold of I think that's 14, sorry, 14.62. Then the next thing is, what are we comparing it to? So I can say this, so maybe let's say this is lower, than previous monthly average of last year, maybe by something percent. Or maybe even if you want to, you can also add that, and maybe and lower than the expected for expected budget, right? Budget monthly growth growth rate of maybe they expect to have to maintain 20%. So that's a message. You've given that insight. Okay. And I think the second one, if you take a look at the second one, so if I go to the data under my workings and I also look at the average, let's look at from June to December. Now, June to December actually account for what? Which is the last, okay, no, June. Okay, I think that should be July to, okay, yes, last 6 months, July to December. So if you are saying the average of the whole year is 14.62, the last 6 months actually accounts for 11.64. So I can decide to add that, right? I can add that. So the last 6 months accounted for 11.64%, right? This was mainly driven by, so maybe there's more like an economy factor, which is where you now need to add more. Maybe this was driven by management decision to add to the marketing or to the marketing team, or maybe they hire another sales manager. And so that insight must always be there, right? And this is what management, this is what they are interested in. Okay, so let me remove the fill, so no fill in the shape and also the line. This is what management, this is what they want to see, right? You can go ahead and also add to our note, so which will become point three, right? I know in Power BI, there's option where if they over on the, let's say for example, the way we have this unit code, right? Let's assume it is in Power BI, and over their mouse on this 83.89, you can type all these points that will also automatically display for them to see. But in Excel, you might just need to type those insights there, right? So 3, you can say it is observed. So it is observed that majority, uh, right, of the unit of the company product was sold within this month. This was so it's observed that majority of the units sold were the unit majority of the sales of the units, right, units sold were in June, right? June, October, and December. So if we sum the total units for those 3 months, and we can say we can state that these three these 3 months sales, right, represent, so maybe represent like 80% of the total units sold in the year. Then the next question is, maybe it was due to festival, maybe there's something that usually happen within that period. You can also put some additional note that if you can also look at what that happened in the past, right, to be able to understand the trend, maybe the management should concentrate on doing some uh, sales discount and all those related things during that period. So most times it's not all about what, it's not about putting interesting graphics, putting your dashboard and the whole thing. It's all about the insights. For example, look at the total unit sales, right? We put the column, and it's also easy for them to see when it was dropping, how it's increased. This is enough to communicate, right? And they look at the month May, low sales. What happened in that period? You take a step further, hey, maybe something happened in the economy and impacted the customer purchasing power. Look at the growth, right? And this is a proper way of doing what? Of you being able to create your visualize. So this insight, most times I'll just call this insight. And you can also segment your insights. You can do more like some, I call it like a segmentation. So what happened? Okay. So let me bring this up. So I can bring these two guys down. Let me highlight them, bring them down so that my insights comes in first. So you highlight, you see, you bring this, and you can create it, you can use it like a section. So all I have in this section is what I'm going to call my unit. So maybe I want to add additional graph to it. This section will only be what? Focused on units sold. Then maybe I create another section, and for this second section, maybe it will just, I'll call it, uh, so maybe this one will become something related to the sales. Then I create another section. I'll call it something related to what? The profitability. And it's easy for them. So they start from the granular driver to the main thing. So don't just create one, you cannot just create maybe like one single button, right? Let me show you a very good example of what I usually see. So I'm not saying it is wrong, but uh, the, when it comes to visualization and data presentation. So equal to, so they will let me link it to the total sales. So let's say total units. Okay, so I'm not sure. Okay, so let's just leave that. And you just see something like maybe what's our total 861, and we just see 861 here, and we'll be looking good. Yes, it's fine, but you know what? Maybe you want to add some a note under it that will also give just one simple insight for them to know. So 861, oh maybe, oh, this is 50% lower than what was sold in the previous year. Even if you don't have previous period data, right, within that same period, 861, and maybe you put, maybe I can add additional notes below it. So 861, so if I add a note, so let me say I said maybe to call this total sales, total units sold. Okay, so maybe let me centralize this and remove the few, and also remove the few, and also remove the shape. So can just, let me minimize it, put it up here. Maybe this is my total sales, but below it I'm putting something at least that still makes sense. So total units sold, right, of 861, in which, maybe 80, maybe 50%, this 50% was sold in Lagos Central. In Lagos Central. That's a message. This is enough for, oh, okay, so maybe some, let's look at what's happening in other states, what's happening in Lagos, this and that, right? They also kind of look at how much are we spending here, how much are we spending here, and it's just that decision making. And as an analyst, this is what I really want you guys to focus on when you are learning your data analytics and visualization in Excel. As I said, yes, so many people can create graph and here and there, but you just need to stand out in the way you do your own presentation and the way you learn it. So learn it in the right way, and trust me, you'll be able to stand out. All right. And these are more like what management, what they are interested in. They can't, if you put, see, the truth is, inside my data like this, with the way I have this data, I've converted it into a table. So I have more like a function, a tool in Excel. So you see, it's called analyze data. If I click on it, look at what will happen. It will automatically create those tables. So you can see now, it will automatically, in fact, it has created 27 different charts for me. So you can see total cost by product, right? Profit by state and segment, sales price by date and region, uh, segment, open market as notable higher units sold. So you can see this is what these two can do for you now, right? So you can see frequency of units sold and different insights. So which means you also need to be able to take your own game, you need to step it up. So learning the right way, right? Try to just be unique, learn more about visualization, right? And visualization in how it drives data and in decision making, right? So I know we have very limited time, so I'm going to pause here today. As I said, the learning does not stop. Now that this is more like a foundation and like a guide, and the next thing is, how do you yourself now need to take this further? Go online, build materials, practice, build more. If you build something, you can send it to people like us. So please, can you help me check this? Can you help me do this? Okay, do this, add this, and that's what will make you stand out and get better at it. As I said, so many people can build visualization, but not everyone can actually build an real analytic, all right, which management can use in making their decision. All right, so thank you, everyone. I know I was a little bit fast, but you can always take your time to go through the recording and rebuild this on your own. Yeah, I know we have a moderator. Sorry, I've taken more than the 1 hour. Can I, yeah.
Thank you, Victor, for this insightful section. I learned a lot on my own, oh, and I'm sure everybody learned a lot because they're really clapping for you. And I know a lot of them have some questions to ask you. So just raise up your hand and I will mute your mic for you to ask your question.
Or they can also type their question in the chat box so that we can save, we can also save time,
Okay, so just type your question on the chat box and Victor will answer you.
Or you guys just prefer to speak.
Rashidat,
Okay.
I've
If that's
unmuted
the
your mic so
case.
you can ask your question. Rashidat, I've unmuted your mic. You can ask your question. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Okay. So Ajala is asking, how do I generate insights from the data? I think this also depends on the version of Excel you are using. So as long as you've turned the data set into a table range, right? The I have so I'm using Office 365, so it's always updated. So you kind of see the icon automatically by this side. Yeah. Okay. So Alai saying, please, my question is that what kind of material can we acquire to learn more? Yeah, don't worry. I think you still have a session with Adewale, and I'm sure he's going to share some materials with you. Also, giving you some assignments. Let's try and do it. Yep, yep. So don't worry, you're in good end. Okay. So Taiwo is saying the last part about analyze table. Can you please talk more about that? I think don't worry, you access the recording and you can always go through. But I think that's the same thing I just explained now. Okay. Okay. So otherwise, saying my question is, when the company send you data, will they state what is required of you to do? So you are the professional. Their one is they have the data set, they share it with you. Yeah, do at most at times you can sit down with the client and just first have their own expectation, right? But also as the analyst, you are the professional, you're expected to bring insights from it, even beyond what they expect. Okay. Okay. So really one is saying in visualization, is it your data that will determine what chart to use? You are the one drawing, right? And that's why I said you need to understand how to use the right visualization to communicate the right thing. For example, look at our total units sold, right? Very clean and straightforward. And it's also easy for them to see that movement with the chart. Just simple as that. Okay. All right. So guitar quality is saying, is there a difference between creating the chart myself or I can follow the one generated by the data itself from the system? Most times it's good you create your own, right? But yeah, you can also create, you can, so if for example now the way that's created, maybe open sales, for example, this is sales price. Let me look for one that I created. So okay, that's manufacturing cost. Sales sum of manufacturing cost. No. So let me look for one. Okay, yeah. So this is our total sales. Let's say this is total sales, right? The way we have it. So what I can do, so you see this in insert pivot charts. So if I click on this insert pivot chart, it will automatically, so it will bring the data out for me and also bring these charts out for me. So I can cut this chart and go and put it in my dashboard here. So you can definitely use the one that's generated. Okay. Always good. Try to do your thing yourself. All right. So Toby is saying why creating your table? You said we should ensure there's no break before the table. What if there's a break? How do you go about it? Secondly, how are you able to identify the average when you were treating? Oh, okay. So for the first one, golden 7 golden rules of data and table. As I said, I watched the recording of Adewale first session with you guys. Go back. Go and check. That should be able to answer that question. Then you were saying when I alighted, how did I get the average? Yes. So if, for example, now I have this set of data. So if I alight from beginning to the end, so if you come below your Excel, so you see the average here, you see the count, and you also see the submission beneath. Yes. So that's how I got it. So anytime you alight data set, you always see the average. As long as there are values, you always see them. Okay. So should I say, is it possible to sort different columns with different parameter without creating another one? And so for your pivot, right? So if you've used this pivot to create one report, you cannot use it to create another chart. So it's just good you copy and you paste it, and you can use it to create another one. Yeah, so because the pivot table, we think that you're actually adding that data to the main chart, and it's fine. So you automatically add to your chart. Okay. So somebody saying, uh my question is, where does the dashboard come in? Because I noted while you were speaking. So that, as I said, so by the time you create your output, so maybe, as I said, you might need to do your own assignments. Difference between a report, right? Difference between a summary, and difference between a dashboard. Yeah, so you can do a little bit of assignment and see example. Okay, so how do you determine the key performance indicator for your data? The data itself, and also depend on you. So most time, the more you do, the more you get better at it, the more you also develop the ability to be able to get insights from the data. Okay. So anyway, saying secondly, when you get your accurate data, do you have to present it yourself? Okay, you are the one that built the reports. You need to present it, right? So when you get the company do a recheck on your data. So data integrity, I'm quite sure it was part of what was discussed. Arewa, you missed the first session. It's so obvious. So data integrity, yes, definitely has the number one thing, because you don't want to give a false presentation of the data. Okay. So how do I generate the revenue? I got lost. So revenue is just your price. Revenue is your sales price. So your total sales is your unit sold multiplied by your selling price. So if you've gone to the market, you buy something, right? And you get to sell it. How much are you selling it? Right? The unit you sell and the amount per each. So we give you your total sales. The same thing as, so sales is the same thing as revenue. Don't mind us. Okay, so what's the difference between the pivot chart and other charts in Excel? So pivot charts, and so anytime as I said, as long as you've converted that data set into a pivot table, and you are taking your chart from that pivot data set, it is automatically pivot chart, but it's still the same chart. So you can see that all the adjustments, all the cleaning I'm doing on it, the same thing. You can do it to a proper normal Excel chart. So it's still the same thing. Okay, so is there a rule to follow when placing the header in either row or column filter? No, no, no. So it depends on you and how you want the report. There are some report that you just want just only the table that we just uh, communicate the message, and you don't need to stress yourself. Okay. All right. So you just multiply with, okay. So someone has answered that. Thank you. How can we be sure that our insights are correct? Taiwo, data is data. You can't lie about it. This is what we have, right? Yeah, saying this is the unit you sold. That's the unit that was sold based on the data that we're being given. But as I said, data integrity is very good. That's why I said, one, don't mess with client data. Maybe during the period where you are doing your data cleaning, you can mistakenly delete something, or it's always good for you to go back and recheck. So yes, for example, now if I want to check my data, right? First unit sold. If I highlight this is data client. If I highlight everything on that unit sold, this is 861,132. If I check my workings, I'm saying that it's also the same thing. So those are how you also check, because data integrity is very fine. Okay. Please, can you help us resend the data used for today? The file on the group different from the one you use. It's not different, it's the same thing. So you have your raw data. This one is blank, which I said those blank that just represent section. So you have your data sets. Okay. Can a slicer be used for the pivot table? Yes, sure, sure. For example, now this is our let's say this is our report, okay? And I want to insert a slicer. All I just need to do is this on this my pivot table. Let me say I want to filter by region. I'll just drag this region, and that's where that filter is. So you can drag this here, right, for you to use. And also on the pivot table, if you come here, you can even see inserts. What is that? Insert slicer. So you see this insert slicer option here. So insert slicer, insert timeline. So insert slicer to ask you what do you want. So let's say I want it by state, right? And click on OK. So it's just going to bring this filter out for me, and I can take it to my uh, report page. Okay. Also, what is the maximum table region that can be on a chart? Like how many comparable can be on a single chart? That depends on you, and as I said, it depends on the insight you actually want to present. But always make sure don't make it too clumsy, all right? Because once it's too clumsy, it's difficult to read. Okay, how do we get the data to compare our present data with? And so if the company has previous data, or if there's no previous data, as I said, even the current period data, insights, there are a lot of insights that can be developed from it. Okay, so please can we get your LinkedIn handle? Okay, all right. So this okay to be sent to the WhatsApp group. All right. So we spent more than 1 hour. So thank you everyone, and thanks for having me in our session today. One of these days, we also be able to have another session where we can have more time to go through it more slower pace. All right, but let's call it a session here today. Our moderator, thanks for having us, and thanks for
Thank
the
you, Victor, for this
artwork.
wonderful section. Thank you,
Yes,
Victor, for this wonderful section. Like it was
yes,
a lot for us. So we'll go back and watch the video and redo what you taught us today. So thank you for
right,
having us today.
right. Thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of the evening.